Hi, everyone. Welcome to French Tech Connect. Wow, you're already 60 people online. This is amazing. This is the first time we have so many people right at the beginning of the session. I can see that this topic of today, Webtoon, is such a interesting topic for everyone. So I'm really happy to have you here. Just very briefly to introduce myself and the French Tech Séoul. So I'm Isabelle. I'm the Vice President of French Tech Séoul here. And just to give you a quick introduction of what is French Tech Séoul, it's a community based here in Korea where we help startups and the innovation ecosystem between France and Korea. And our goal is just to create a community of members the same area to just discuss with each other, exchange ideas, and create more opportunities for both ecosystems. So just for today's event, I'm just going to very briefly explain you how the platform works. So as you can see, you're going to have the chat that I see that a lot of people already worked on. You have the option to send us emoticon and love. Please do so during the session. You have a Q&A section where you can ask all of your questions. I would advise you, if you have questions during the session, to post them here so that it's easier for us at the end of the session during the Q&A to see them and see where they are and not like lost in the chat. And yes, this is basically the very quick introduction. I'm going to just invite today with me on stage Jean-Romain from the French Embassy in Seoul in the Service Culturel, which helped us a lot to do this event. Jean-Romain, I'm just inviting you now. Hi.
Hi. Okay, thank you, Isabelle. Thank you all for your participation in this online conference. It's a great pleasure to collaborate with French Tech Séoul on this topic. 2 years ago, the French government launched a huge strategy on cultural and creative industries. Korea is considered as one of the hot places for global entertainment, with the famous Hallyu. Our first step was to map the ecosystem, which you can discover on the website icc.nr2.io. More than 1,300 companies are waiting to collaborate with you. We need to consolidate the bridge between French entrepreneurs and Korean ones. With our public and private partners, the French Embassy believes that there are many opportunities in cultural and creative industries, and Webtoon is one of them. Hope you will enjoy this conference. Thanks to the speaker for their participation. Thanks to the audience to be present. You show how important is it to be all together. French Tech Séoul, other partners, and Cultural and Creative Industries Committee and French Embassy, we all believe in a global network which will be fruitful for everyone. To reach this goal, we really need your engagement in this dynamic. We are at the beginning of great achievements. Good news will be announced soon. Let's keep in touch. Thank you so much and see you later.
Thanks, Isabelle. Thanks, Jean-Romain. And I'm going to take the mic now. I'm Ghislain, an associate partner for DHR Global, recruiting tech, digital, and of course in Webtoon. I had the chance to support major players in this industry in their expansion, and I'm an avid reader myself, so I'm super excited to be there with you for this event. So, Webtoon. Webtoon have transformed the comics industry into a new type of entertainment with innovation in content development, in the way you consume, and also in all the different business models that are out there. In Korea, the market grew to $1 billion industry, and key players such as Naver, Kakao, and Ready are now eyeing global markets. In the US, Naver draws 40 million active users monthly and revenues above $100 million per month. In Japan, Kakao and its subsidiary Piccoma generated the biggest revenue out of all non-gaming smartphone apps last year with $330 million. So Webtoons are now everywhere and beyond your smartphone. You can now view Webtoon on Netflix and Apple TV, and I believe Disney Plus is coming very, very soon. What's so special about Webtoons? How do they disrupt the market? And since we have a great panelist with an experience between France and Korea here, what are the opportunities for the local ecosystems and creators in France? We'll answer all these questions with a great panel today. We have Didier Borg, the ex-CEO and co-founder of Delitoon, currently managing Strat Me Up. Luc Kim, the head of Piccoma Europe, and Woody Lee, the CEO of the Webtoon production company Kenaz. Woody will be supported by Kevin Lee, in charge of global business development at Kenaz. I'm going to ask each of the panelists to introduce themselves. Maybe Didier, could you start? And since we're talking about Webtoon, can you let us know which Webtoon you read last and you would like to recommend to our audience?
Okay, hi everyone. So don't laugh. I just started True Beauty and I like it.
So yes, can you also introduce yourself, Didier?
Yeah, so I'm the ex-CEO and founder of Delitoon, which is the first French Webtoon platform. But I don't know if it's still French as it's now owned by a Korean company. But actually, I've just discovered Webtoon in 2008. So I'm a kind of pioneer crazy guy who discovered Webtoon for France. And now I'm an advisor for the market.
Okay, thanks, Didier. Luc, could you introduce yourself? And once again, it doesn't need to be a Kakao Webtoon, but let us know which Webtoon you read last.
Okay, to start with the first question, so the last Webtoon I read is Solo Leveling, which is a Kakao Webtoon. And to introduce myself, so I worked with Didier for Delitoon for an extensive amount of time, and then I just joined Kakao and Kakao Piccoma, which is the Japanese branch of Kakao, to launch Piccoma, which is a platform for mangas and webtoons in France very, very soon.
Thanks a lot. And last but not least, Woody, could you introduce yourself, please? There is a little echo. So maybe if we get this echo, we could use Kevin's mic.
I'm gonna have to introduce Mr. Woody Lee. So we're Kenaz. We're a Webtoon studio based in Korea, and it's driven by Woody Lee. And he has 15 years of experience in Webtoon industry, and he has been involved with 400 titles of Webtoon as a planner, executive producer, and producing. So that's his experience. He's a driven force of our company. And starting 2010, he structured a business model with France market, and he became, he's working as an MCP of Delcourt publisher. I don't know how to pronounce it.
Delcourt.
Yeah.
No, but Delcourt works for a Korean audience.
Yes. So he has created a joint venture with the company called Orange Agency. So he's working directly with France, and then he's creating a France collaboration, Korea collaboration Webtoon IP based on Korean War. So we're creating Webtoon projects at this moment.
Okay, very cool. And I think Kenaz has 180 artists to support all your different productions.
Yes, we are. Since we're not a platform, we're a studio. So we're gonna have to focus on the artist. So we have a drawing artist and planning and producers. So we're focusing that area.
Thank you very much. And so now for the audience, if you do have any Webtoon you'd like to recommend, please put it in the comment. I'm going to put a couple myself. Solo Leveling is quite a good one. I've read it as well. But yes, if you do have recommendations, even if it's My Little Lolly or examples that were brought by Didier, please share with us, and it would be a lot of fun to see your recommendations after. So first question for all of you guys. For those of us that are a little bit less familiar with the industry, can you first share with us your definition of Webtoon? What are they? How do they differ from classic comics? And most importantly, how do they disrupt the market? So I'm going to go with the same order. Maybe Didier, could you start with your definition?
Sure. Actually, Webtoon is still comics. I mean, it's the same thing as we know on paper, but it's full dedicated to a smartphone, let's say, or screens, and it's perfectly suited for that. So this is the major thing that you have to keep in mind. It's the first time that you have something to read, which is comics and fully dedicated for screens. And for me, it's a kind of first time that you have a real international comic media. It's not some
I think Didier, you're cutting. We'll come back to you. I do not hear you. I'm not sure if I'm the only one. Maybe Luc, could you go first?
Okay, I'll continue what Didier was saying. So I think the Webtoon is a new. It's not new because it started at the beginning of the millennium. But what we have to understand is that Webtoon is more is a new approach to the snap culture, which is totally new, I think, in the comics industry, and it's a lighter way to get into the comics. And as you know, a smartphone is everywhere, and the thing is. The thing that you have a new kind of comics which is dedicated for screens is the most powerful thing which has been created by the Koreans and now which is spreading over the world.
Thanks, and DJ, back at you. I think it's come to work.
Yeah, thank you, and sorry for the disrupting. Just one thing, for me, it is the first time that you have a real international way to read comics finally. It's not dedicated to one country. You can read Webtoon everywhere in the world. You will feel it like it's something very local. So this is the main thing that I felt when I discovered Webtoon at the first time. It was that for the first time, you have something that you can love from France to Korea to Mexico to anywhere in the world. So this is for me what is Webtoon.
Okay, great. Woody, what's your perspective on this?
So I'll try to interpret Mr. Woody's mind. So we think of Webtoon as a evolved entertainment system where it started from cartoon. And then, cartoon has a limitation and restriction in order to express the creativity. So when it became as a Webtoon to smartphone, it has a more in between cut and cut, we can put in more spaces into it. We can create more emotions, express more emotions. So by having more limitation on smartphone screen and 5G helping to expose all over the world by 5G, so it's like it evolved from paper book entertainment to smartphone sector entertainment. So, yeah.
Yes, thanks a lot. And so that's really a good initiation, but of course, Webtoon goes way beyond that in the way people consume. And in the same way Netflix really changed the way people consume series and movies, Webtoon is totally changing the way people also consume comics. What are the business models out there? We have subscription models, we have, free models where it becomes, if you want the comics before everybody else, you pay a little extra. So you do have quite a bit of business models out there. Maybe Luc, could you clarify, tell us what Piccoma is doing in terms of business model and what some of your competitors, without naming them, are doing as well?
If we start by the business model out there from Piccoma, Piccoma is using a simple model of buy whatever you want, so buy as you go. So actually, you buy each chapter or each volume of a manga of a webtoon. Instead of having a subscription model like some of the competitors in the market. And the other one is only the model of free. Actually, 99% of the contents are free, and only the last episodes are paid. That's why what Naver is doing right now with the service Webtoons on the international market. For Piccoma, it's more a freemium model, so you have some free episodes or volumes, and you have to buy some coins, which is virtual money, virtual wallet you have, and you have to spend the coins on the episodes and volumes.
Do you guys implement the same business model in every country where you operate, or did you adjust it to local?
Actually, we think that this model is the right model for everyone, not also for the consumers, but also for the editors and the authors, because the problem of the subscription model is that the revenues are, it's hard to calculate the revenues, and the big titles are taking all the money of the subscription to the big titles, and the smaller titles and authors are not getting paid for what they do. That's like we can have the example of Spotify for music. The most part of the authors of the artists are not getting paid enough to work with their titles. So we do not want that model to be implemented in comics. So we choose that model of coins and buying whatever you want.
Okay, yes. Talking about the authors, so we do see now a growing number of publications on Webtoon platforms, and all these stories, all this intellectual property that is being built is now also being told on other media. And I just mentioned Netflix before. Between Naver's Canvas approach and companies internalizing the process of production or co-working with companies like Kenaz, how is all of this content generated? And maybe I'm going to let Woody take this one first.
Yes, for that question, us being a not platform, we're a studio, so we're gonna have to think of A through Z on Webtoon publishing area. So just by looking at the market, if you look at the market, we can only focus on romance, fantasy, those kind of very selling IP. But being a studio, we have to think of outside of the box, outside of the market, so we can try to collaborate, be creative, and try to have no limitation on. We have to diversify. We have to have lots of different kinds of genre. So we focus on lots of planning. So, and also we know it's gonna obviously turn into games, drama, movies, animation. So right now we're focusing. We're still evolving with the technology and all this approach by different bigger tech giants. So we're developing lots of ideas into different contents. Did it make
Okay.
sense?
Yes. And in your case, it's a process that is entirely done in-house.
Yes.
You don't cooperate with the.
Just by having the strength of our company, we have to do everything in-house in order to keep our strength.
Okay. Didier, maybe you want to take this one as well. How do we do in France, and how have you been doing?
Well, actually, as a platform, we didn't create any content directly in France, but this was a very important question. We know that the key name is studio, and as many people maybe you know about history of comics in France, we used to have studio in France and Belgium, creating Tintin, creating some Spirou or the Smurfs and many things like that for very classical bande dessinée. But historically, we got, how can I say it? We lost the way to work for comics. So we have studio for video games, we have studio for the cinema, but we don't have any studio in France to create any comics. So I really think that we have to move about it. And if we want to be part of the market, which is not only platforms but also creating content and share what can be also the French vision, the French touch of the creation, we have to move about it. And maybe we can move also working together with some Korean studio as Kenaz. I mean, it's probably the next step we have to move in France and more generally in Europe.
Okay, thanks Didier. And a couple of you have mentioned it. Luc, in particular, with the issues between the high-selling titles and the lower-selling titles. But how do creators benefit from this system? Is there a plus for them compared to the more traditional publishing industry? Are they making more money? Is it fair for a broader audience? What's your perspective on that? And Didier, since you were here, maybe you can keep.
Sorry, can you just repeat? I had a.
Yes, how do creators benefit from this system? Do they have more chances to live out of their creation than in the classic publishing industry?
Okay, sure. Yes. What maybe we have some authors in the audience. So what you have to understand is that it's a totally new model. It's not only a business model dedicated to platforms. When you see Netflix, when you see Spotify, as just say Hunley, the whole money goes to the platform, and artists are really suffering. The Webtoon has a very, very safe model for the artists. When people buy a content, the money goes to the artist. For sure, there is a share with the platform, but the money goes to the artist and to the studio. And this is a very good thing. And the other thing that you have to hear is that even if the work is very hard, because creating so many episodes is a hard work and you can't do it alone. So that's also why I have studios. The good news is that studios and artists can make good money with the platform. So when I see all the French artists suffering because it's so difficult today to make money with their work, I really think that there is a great opportunity for them, because this is also a worldwide market. And if you are good at creation, if you are good with a good story, maybe your story will be read in the whole world. And we have now examples coming perfectly from the US today of some contents that are read everywhere and making good money. So yes, it's not an insult to say that we want to win money also if you're an artist.
Yes, yeah, of course. Luc, maybe you can tell us how it works for Piccoma, and well, it might be a little bit difficult to tell us how much some of your artists are making, but you can give us your perspective.
Okay, on the perspective, I think that the Webtoon is a new model and new possibilities for the authors and creators, because it's far easier to have your contents exported to foreign markets. If you compare, for example, the book market, you have to print it. You have to you have all the logistics behind it to sell the thing. Instead of just having your files translated and lettered and be able to sell in the foreign markets. And that's a big difference, I think, for the webtoons and for the French market. Actually, the French creations are not exported that well internationally. And webtoons is a new kind of format that could lead them to the foreign markets easier than before.
How do you select your creations? I mean, obviously, if you contract with a publisher, they're going to expect certain brand name or certain revenues. I'm assuming that this format allows you to take more risks as well, and publish authors. Give it a shot on some of these authors. What's your process for selecting this?
The creators or the contents?
No, the author. Yes, the creation.
Okay, if it's the creation, we select based on the sales and the name it has in the country of origin. So in Korea for most of the time. But we have to keep in mind as a platform that we want to have some diversity. So we also select some, let's say, less efficient business-wise. Business side contents, so we keep the diversity of the contents and of the stories.
Okay, thanks. And I'll go back to Woody. You guys will have an interesting perspective since you're also creating your own content.
For that part, we have to focus on supply chain and how this industry works. And we have to adjust that with creators. Well, back in the days when we used to, when it was less industrialized, we can try to work a very small business with just one creator having one little team. But now it's becoming a bigger industry. We have to adjust that into business model. So we have to adjust a lot of conditions with creators, and we have to match up with what kind of content we're going to create and who has different style of creation. All those many adjustment conditions has developed into business model and became our strength, and it became a system. And once it becomes a system, it's much easier for us to go into the market and try to come up with our own creativity. And, from there, once it becomes a system, which is hard, but once it becomes a system, I guess it's kind of easier way to expand our, we call it R&D system. It's kind of easier for us to expand our R&D system. But before making this far, it was very hard adjustment. Still, it's lots of adjustment, but I think Woody has lots of know-hows to how to manage creators. So yeah, there's lots of adjustments, and creators try to manage and try to work together and try to become a business model and try to go through. Yeah, there's a lot of adjustments.
Okay. Thanks. Yes, trying to really match the market and then the creative process.
Yeah.
So thanks for this intro, and now we're going to go towards the core of the subject, the global expansion. And Korea became rapidly too small for major players. We've seen Naver, Kakao, Reedy, Ledzin expanding rapidly in the US, Japan, Southeast Asia, and Europe now. How do foreign audiences adjust to this new format, and what do companies face? What challenges do companies face in their expansion? And I'm going to ask Luc, because it is in the core of this.
Okay. For the first question, which is how do the foreign audiences adjust to this new format? Actually, that's not issue for us because the format of reading webtoons is from is a scrolling down, up and down. So actually, all people know how to do that. They do that already every day on Facebook, on Twitter, on any website. You have to scroll up and down. So that's not a problem. And there is no problem of to know how to read the webtoon content. It's up to down, from left to right. So no problem for most of the people. But in terms of challenges for the expansion, there is one issue that is the webtoon contents on the foreign markets have to be sold. So we have to sell the contents, but the history is that the people in the foreign countries, for example, French people, think that the webtoon content is free content, and that's a big problem to make them understand that webtoon is not free and you have to pay like all the other contents in the market, and that's a big issue for us.
Okay, yes, we do have also a lot of Scandinavian groups making it very, very difficult. I did face, actually, when I did talk to a lot of people, and that might be what you're referring to might be linked to the fact that, you know, we do have a lot of Gen Z readers that are much more adaptable. But I do know that a lot of people have issues with scrolling. You know, it might be easy, but it's very, very consuming. You need to basically click every 30 seconds, or twice every second to be able to scroll the pages. Sometimes in some countries, the connection is not great as well, not as great as we have here in Korea. So you do have these kind of issues. And then when we discussed before, Luc, you mentioned not legal issues, but the regulatory framework of certain countries with, for example, boundaries put in the pricing of webtoons. Can you develop this a little bit?
Okay, for the scrolling issue, actually, we have to understand that the core target of the webtoons are maybe the teens and up to 25, 30 years old. And I think they have less issues about the scrolling than us. For not the legal issue, but how to say, some of the countries have in I think around 2010 or 2011, they have made some laws about the digital content and digital reading, which is not adapted to what the market is right now, because they had no idea about Webtoon around those years. So actually, that could be a problem for the market growth and expansion worldwide, because those are protecting the good old editors and publishers, and they are not taking in account the new business models and industry that have been created after that.
Okay. Thanks, Luc. And I'm going to send this question out to Kenaz, and it's going to be interesting to see also the challenges you meet in trying to globalize this content. And we have great stories out there, but of course they are sometimes more culturally relevant to Korea, and this is also the reason that cooperation is going to be great between Korea and other countries. But in the perspective of a content developer, how do you view these challenges in your expansion, and how do you adjust your process, your system as you described it, for this content to be more accessible to global audiences?
We think first we need to realize what the theory of supply and demand format right now. Demand side is very big, but supply side is platform becoming supply side, and us being a studio it would be better for us to meet a lot of platforms, but it's still ing stage. So and if you consider the problems we're having with platforms, there's a lot of big platforms who wants to publish Webtoon, but there's very limitation of studios in Korea, and there's lots of different business conditions that we have to think of, because most of the platforms wants exclusivity, but it's hard to come up with just to focusing on just a certain platform. So so platform side, I think they're having big problems on sourcing, because besides Korea, there's not much of legit studios out there besides Korea. So platforms will have problems on sourcing IPs, and in the studio inside of Korea has a limitation of meeting great platforms, and the business aspects is still, it's getting better, so we're very excited, but still there's lots of ways to the problems that we have to face and try to solve. But it's getting better, so it's great.
Okay, thanks. And so now leading to France, just overall, we a lot of us know how the Korean market looks like now. But what does the Webtoon industry currently represent in France? And do we have the same readers as in Korea? And also, I would go in the genre. Do we have the same diversity of genre as we have here in Korea, or is it more segmented to one particular audience? And I'm going to give this one to Didier.
Yeah, thank you. Well, let's say that we are on a market which is just at the beginning. So it's difficult to say that we have the same audience and the same contents. We choose to create this market. We choose to bring what works for us. And actually, the audience is more like young women more than men. But it will probably move very fast right now, because we have several platforms coming. Piccoma is coming. Naver just arrived. So as soon as there was only one platform, which was Delitoon, it was very dedicated to romance and fantasy, but it will probably move right now. But for sure that we are not creating a full new market, and we are still a copy of the Korean market. So as soon as we use the content that comes from Korea right now, we create the market from the content, and so we have the audience that is full dedicated to this content. So we will probably have the same kind of audience very soon, and probably more men that we have right now.
Okay, Luc, your
currently in France, we have a lot of Korean platforms, Delitoon, Webtoons, Atomix, and other platforms, and you have just a few French platforms led by some publishers. So actually, I think that the market is at its first development in France, and for the for the market, I think the readers are maybe the same, but actually the platforms worked on the romance first, and now are moving to the more men or targeted markets. So I think that it will be quite balanced between the men and women in France afterwards.
And since you are also having manga in your portfolio, do you see different patterns between the two?
Actually, I cannot say on my platform because it's not launched yet, but when you see the manga market in France, there are more men than women readers.
Okay. So it should equal out in the near future. Maybe Woody or Kevin from Kenaz, do you have anything to add to that?
From the data we have right now at this moment, compared to Korea market, customer target in Korea is very wide. It starts from 10 years old to 50-year-old watching. We have audiences target, but France right now, it seems like under 20 is our main target right now. But I'm pretty sure it's going to expand. But other countries also expanding. So we're expecting France market to become like a fourth biggest after China, Japan, US, and France. So hopefully it will grow. There's lots of ways we can try to develop, try to do lots of marketing, and I'm pretty sure it's going to expand. So yeah, we're looking at that market, like I said, right now.
Okay, and so now about the cooperation. How do French publishers respond to this new business model? What type of cooperation can we see between the French and Korean ecosystems in the future? And I will start.
Yeah, actually, French publishers took a long time to understand that Webtoon was something really big and really interesting for their market. So let's figure it like that. You have some publishers working with Webtoon studios or Webtoon IPs that they use to make books. So this is the first way to be connected as a publisher in France. Is okay, I see an IP, it's cool, and I'll do what I know is making books. So this is the first step. Then we have, let's say, Delcourt. Delcourt just launched a platform, which is called Delitoon. So it's a platform owned by a publisher, very interesting thing. And they connect the two markets from the paper to the digital and digital to paper. So it's very young, and I don't have any figures, so I won't say if it works, it doesn't work, I don't know. Then you have a historical actor, which is called Isneo. Isneo is basically having very classical publishing, like bande dessinée in PDF, like to read. And then they launched recently some Webtoon, but they are not based on the same model as the other platforms. But Isneo is also connected to the classical publishers from France. So let's say there is another actor working on it, and then that's it. Well, French publishers are not really involved today in the Webtoon market because they are very classical paper involved, and the work they know from a very long time is to make books. So when you say digital to French publisher, they don't like it. They see it as something bad. This was the idea they had from the last 10 years. And the good thing is that things are moving. I know some of them have projects, maybe to develop some content, maybe to develop new platforms. Things are moving right now. But from my perspective, they have lost 10 years. So they are late, very late on the market. And I'm part of the guy who just launched a platform in France. But now you have big actors coming. I mean, Piccoma Europe with Luke, and Neighbor is still he's here right now. Delitoon is now part of big group. So I'm not sure of what to think about the next step for the French publishers. They can be part of the game, but they will have to be very active right now.
Okay, and beyond the publishers, I'm going to include the whole ecosystem. What type of cooperation can we see between the French ecosystem, which includes also all the artists, all the writers, and the Korean platforms? When can we see more French content on these platforms, whether it's IP, so coming directly from authors, or comic book artists?
Yeah, actually, I think that artists have to move also, because when you read Webtoon, what you see is that there is a kind of standard about how to write a story and how to draw the story. And today, our artists are not dedicated to this market. They are dedicated to make books and to work with classical publishers. So I'm pretty sure that there are some artists very talented that are today working to make some webtoons, and we have some example on the canvas part of Naver. This is very interesting to observe, but we don't have the industry to make webtoon right now. We don't have too many artists. When I hear that Kenaz is part of the market in Korea, and the sourcing of the webtoons is now very difficult because there are not enough artists in the whole country of Korea. This is an opportunity, but we have to change the way we work. We have to create some studios, and studio does not exist right now in France, and we have no studio to make webtoons. And we have also an economical problem, because if an artist is moving from one market to another one, he wants to be sure that he will not lose his whole business. So we have to create it right now, and we have a real opportunity to create some studio, as we also saw on another market, which is the podcast market for the audio. We have now French studios working worldwide. So I'm pretty confident for the future of the ecosystem. We will probably have some good news very soon.
Thank you, Didier. Luc, have you started to work on some cooperation programs? Well, Kakao is a little bit unique because you also work through major acquisitions, like we saw with Tapas in the US very recently. What are your plans for Europe or for France in particular? If not,
actually, our plans is very simple. We want to focus in the French market, and a specificity of Piccoma is that Piccoma is also working with manga and webtoons. So actually, we will have to, and we are going to work with French publishers that everyone knows. I won't tell any name, but you probably know those publishers on the manga side, and we want to expand the cooperation in the sector of webtoons with them to actually do what we know to do. So we know that we are platforms, and we know how to run a platform, and the publishers know how to make books and sell the books. So we think that those are two things that can be connected to work together in the ecosystem. So actually, Piccoma will be part of the French ecosystem and also the Korean and Japanese ecosystems.
Okay, and thanks a lot, Luc. We're nearly towards the end. I'm maybe going to ask one last question, and that's going to be an opening to the questions of the audience. But the industry is constantly innovating. We've seen a lot of projects and innovations all over the place. The last one I've read is about the introduction on NFTs. How do you view the future of this industry? We do have massive IP libraries. Kakao, I think, has the biggest library of intellectual property in Webtoon. A lot of capital. How do you see the future of this industry? Do you think it's going to evolve into a multi-platform content company producing series, drama, and really using this IP to generate all types of contents, or any other direction? And that's a question to everyone. Let's start with Didier.
Well, what we recently see is that Webtoon is part of a huge thing now. If you see the recent move for Naver, they bought Wattpad. and they created a Webtoon Wattpad studio. So the part, what I mean is that the start of an IP is a story. Wattpad is creating story, Webtoon is drawing the story, and Netflix is having the series on TV. So this is the new Hollywood. And a friend of mine just said it's Hollywood. Why not? And the very interesting thing is that Webtoon is the heart of the system. And this is the first time that we really realize that comics industry is now the very solid part of a huge system, which we often see at the movies. When you have some X-Men coming or Batman coming to the movie, you say, okay, this is an old, very important IP. But now you have very, very fresh IPs coming to TV with the right model. It's series. And people love series. So yes, this is the next move is right now. It's not the future, it's the present.
Yes, and maybe that will help us to avoid Terminator 2, 3, 5, 6, and get a little bit of original stories out there. Luc, what do you view? How do you view the future of the industry?
Actually, I think that the industry is still young, so there is many possibilities in the market. But as you mentioned, there is a massive IP libraries and capital. So the moves are running right now, actually. So you see many Webtoon IPs adapted into screens, so movies and dramas. You also see many Webtoon IPs going to video games, including mobile games, and might be also go to the animation industry. So actually, Webtoon industry is actually the source of many uses that are possible. And we are just at the beginning of the, I won't say it's going to be a multi-platform content companies, but it will be at least the source of many type of contents.
Okay, thank you. And from Kenaz, do you have anything to add to this?
Well, us, being not a platform studio, of course, we're aware of, technology is here to stay. It's going to get much better. We're going to have many options down the road. So we are aware of NFTs technology, business. So right now, since we're not, platform, so we're aware of it, but we're not focusing. It's not our, priority right now. So, but like I said, we know it's going to happen. So we need to carefully analyze the market and prepare for it because us creating content, we know it's going to become a derivative business model. So yeah, I think NFT is gonna. We're not sure, but it will become multi-platform. I think. We think.
Okay, thanks. And yes, you're going to be at the core creating stories. So looking forward to that. So thanks a lot. We are at 7:55 now. I went already a little bit over time. So we want to make sure to give the chance to the audience to ask questions. I'm going to give back the floor maybe to Isa if you're here with questions for the audience. And thanks everyone. So for the questions, you can put your question if you want to ask the question to someone in particular, list their name, and otherwise I'm sure the panels will volunteer. Thanks a lot.
Hey, hi. We actually already got a few questions. You can see already in the Q&A. So maybe we can just go over the question as they came in. I'm going to just show them the first one on stage. It is from Marie Vive. What are the strategy and action to present people who repost chapter on illegal platform? Some other who whose work I read have their work reposted, even if it's already licensed in English and other language. I wonder if companies and studio could protect the content or take legal action. I guess maybe that would be more for Kenaz, right? Or who want to take this one?
Actually, this is not given.
Oh, you're muted.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I'm Miss Changa, and I could answer the question. Of course, we're aware about this situation because actually some of our contents are spread into the illegal platforms. Actually, we could discuss with the platform which we have exported to, but actually it's really hard to catch these guys because they're the IPs on other countries. So what we're trying to do is cooperating with the platform to prevent the captures and we're trying to keep the service has no gap between the Korean and overseas. So on every country you can see the newest episode, so they don't have to go to the other platform to see the newest episodes. So currently that's what we're going to do. And also the platform is working on the systems to prevent the capture and the illegal situations.
Thank you. I guess we can go on the second question. I hope this gives you your answer, Mari. Let us know if you still have a follow-up question on this. I'm just going to put up the second question from Michelle. And I think actually this is something that Didier, you also answered in the comments. So maybe I'm going to give you this one.
Yeah, actually, we have all the proofs that Webtoon or digital is not something to fight paper. And the contrary, actually. When you have a good IP on Webtoon, you have good sales on paper. So this is not a problem. This is an opportunity. And this is the way we have to understand that digital is not here to disrupt the market and to change the way we see the IPs. We always have readers on books, and people love books, and we love it for the rest of the time because we have hands and eyes.
The smell of the new manga in my library is this is why I buy it, right? It's to have it physically in my hand. Totally agree with that. So we actually already, Solomon, I think it's fine if we pass on your question, which was what about Webtoon and NFT? So I guess we already talked about this. I hope this answers. Let us know if that's not the case. So let me just write that. Oh, sorry. I like a bit. Okay. Not last one, but another one. Wondering if there is any expansion plan of this industry in Europe, maybe outside of France. And I heard about Germany, but nothing else so far. Maybe Hyungdae, you want to take this one?
Yes, actually, I think that the question is that if there's any expansion outside France, but the thing is that France is the biggest market in Europe. So actually, I think all the companies want simply to focus on the French market before discussing about the other European countries.
Didier, do you have something else to add on this, or?
No, actually, I'm no more involved in the Webtoon platform strategy, but the only thing I have to say is that if Delitoon is the first, again, to expand in Europe, as we launched the Delitoon brand in Germany, but I have no information about the next step in this company or others.
We have a bit more time, and I see that we already have only 2 questions left. So let's just take this one. Globalization needs translator. do our speakers believe the translation market, especially for French-speaking native translator, is currently mature enough to absorb the demand of the publishing platform? That's hard. Anyone wanna take this?
I'll take this. I think that so actually the translation market is I think is mature enough in France, at least, because we have more and more translators active in France. I think that in the French market there are at least hundreds of translators actually working on webtoons. So I think it's completely mature, but it has to be expanded actually over the time.
And maybe I can hop in on this one, because that's a very important topic, and definitely blocking the expansion beyond France, since we have a lot of different languages in Europe. But I do see a lot of companies, and Naver has contracted with some startup in this field to use AI and automatic translators to try to bring this content faster, and that's something that Kenaz just mentioned as well. It's key to be able to bring this content and translate it extremely fast, so that people don't go on scanlation sites done by fans. Do you have plans to integrate this type of technology as well, or do you plan to work mainly with translators, professional translators?
Actually, for Piccoma, we have the confidence that the AI will hardly replace the professional human translators, because translation work, as you know, is also a work of creation. So that's another creation on a creation, and that process is not easy for AIs to implement. And we always need the human touch to verify and also have the best translation possible. And that's the role of the platforms in this matter, to have that process going faster and faster, and match the translators that are able to do that.
Thank you. We have 2 questions more. Let's just take those 2 and then finish on the session. Just knowing everyone that after the session, we're going to have a little bit of networking time. So if you have further questions, you can also go and ask directly to some of the speakers. So let's just go on this one. What can we do to change Webtoon readers' feeling that Webtoon are free content? Do we want to change it? I don't know. What do you guys think? As a Webtoon reader, I don't want to change that.
Well, actually, Webtoon is based on freemium, so part of it is free. So I think that the feeling is right. Part of the Webtoon is free. The real thing to change is to think that illegal platforms are free and good for the ecosystem. This is the thing to change. The rest is only business, and I really think that people that pay for Webtoon, they pay for what they want to get it faster, and this is the way Webtoon is sold. But they can also have a lot for free, and people who doesn't want to pay, they have what they want, and they can have it for free and legally too. So I think platforms do a lot to get access to Webtoon for the whole type of people, the one who got money and the one who don't.
Yeah, for the studios, I think we just need to create the story which is really interesting, so that they want to pay and read it. I think the best content is like that. It's like a Squid Game. Yeah, you know, everybody's talked about the Squid Game. If you wanna watch the Squid Game, you have to join the Netflix. Just like that. If we create the really, really, really interesting content, I think the readers will get into the platforms, and I think that will just slightly change their mind.
Agree on that. So last question, to Didier. It is directly to you. In France, BD BD are accepted as art for everyone. However, in Korea, Webtoons currently I'll just show it on stage. Currently made in studios as considered commodities among authors. How do you think the advantage should be overcome in France between French authors?
Well, yes, effectively, the French artists are considered as part of the art system. And if we talk about culture with a big C, and when you go to Korea, it's more creative content, it's more entertainment. And I'm not sure that the Webtoon ecosystem and the Webtoon readers are waiting for something which we could call art. We are looking for something to read and have a real pleasure in the reading. This doesn't mean that people who draw Webtoon are not artists. They have talent, and it's a specific expression of the talent. And probably French artists will create something new, something more close to what they've learned to draw. But I'm not sure that there is a huge market for a Webtoon which would be too beautiful to see, too beautiful to be drawn. This is not what the market is waiting for. And we also have a problem of economy. The more you have details, the more you have to spend time on the draw, the less you will be economically benefits. So we have a problem about the connection between the time you spent and the way you draw and the money you will win selling your content. But for sure, French will have to take the part of the thing and create something special. I hope so.
Thank you, Didier. And that was our last question. And I'm super happy, to say that I think we can finish up the session here, at least for the session part, and then now go on to enjoy a slight bit of online networking for those who want to stay with us. Ghislain, do you want to say a last word?
No, just a big thank you to our panelists. Of course, it's not only this little session. We spent a lot of time preparing for this event. So thanks a lot. And just an introduction to the networking event. I'll be here as well. A couple of our panelists will be here. So let's extend the fun. Let's extend the chat and talk about Webtoon. Thanks a lot to the whole audience as well. Don't hesitate to connect with all of us. I think through the different LinkedIn communications, you do have our LinkedIn. So if you do need our contact for the future, don't hesitate to get in touch. That's it for me. And thanks a lot, Isa. And see you all at the networking session.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for attending. Thank you for all of the great speakers today. And see you on the networking part. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.